of Conversations with Camden. We're going to have a YouTube live tonight that serves two purposes. One is for prospective parents who maybe are still interested in joining Camden or at least thinking about it to get a little bit more information. And then also for the students who are already enrolled and will be on campus here in a couple of weeks. So we're here to answer both of those types of questions tonight. So make sure you keep this chat interactive. Make sure you're posting in the chat here on YouTube. You can also go to any of our social media streams, Facebook, Instagram, you can even Snap. So pretty much anywhere, just use the hashtag Camden Military, and we'll get to your questions this evening. All right, so we've got some guests here with us tonight on YouTube. We have an alum, we have a couple of current students, as well as my associate, Mac Trapp. So I'm going to let them introduce themselves to get things started. And Mac, we'll start with you.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. My name is Mac Trapp. I'm the Associate Director of Admissions. Myself and Casey Robinson. You probably, if you are a prospective student, you probably hadn't talked to us yet. But if you're a parent who has already made the commitment and your son is joining us, you have probably talked to us quite often. So looking forward to a great night, getting a lot of questions answered. Hopefully we've got a lot of students on here tonight that can also ask questions and hear it from guys who have been through it. So looking forward to a great show tonight.
All right. And then I guess we'll give the next honor of introduction to our alum, Duke.
Hi, so I'm Charlie, graduated last year. So I'm going to Vanderbilt this year, so I'm pretty thankful for all that Cam's kind of the opportunities it's given me.
All right. And now our two current cadets, and we'll start with Cadet Moore.
Hey, I'm Logan Moore. I'm going in my senior year. I live in Edmond, Oklahoma, and I'm excited to come back.
All right. And last but not least, Pickett.
Hi, I'm Kason Pickett. I'm going to be a junior this year. I'm in band and staff company.
Where are you from?
I'm from Palo Alto, California.
There you go. So we pretty much have across the country represented. Mac and I here in South Carolina. You got Charlie Duke up there in Nashville. And then you have Oklahoma, and then the West Coast, of course, California. So thanks, guys, for joining us tonight. And I want to jump right into questions. And again, I want to remind everybody, start getting those questions onto our chat or posted to social media. Just make sure if you're using social media to ask those questions that you use hashtag Camden Military, and we will get to those. Well, let's get started tonight. For those that are thinking about being here or maybe who are already enrolled, that will be here in a couple of weeks, how did you guys get prepared for that first day at Camden? Emotionally, mentally, physically, how did you kind of psych yourself up to start at Camden? And Duke, we'll start with you on that one.
I think my first day was I had a big old 9-hour drive all the way down with my parents, and just kind of went through with them and get myself mentally ready. Just kind of having a little bit of a sit down with my parents, and we kind of had a goal setting, a little bit of like, this is what we're looking to get out of it. And then just kind of like, it's not a punishment, but it's an investment. I was always kind of thinking it was an investment in my future. And just, you gotta put yourself in there to get stuff out.
That's right. Well, and I think in your case, the investment paid off because you're going to Vandy full ride. So congratulations. All right. And then we'll go down to Edmond, Oklahoma. That would be quite a long drive. So Logan, how about you? How did you emotionally, mentally, physically prepare for Camden?
Yeah, so it's a 13-hour drive from Oklahoma to Camden, and I had a long time to think about what was going on. On my way there, I kind of was sitting in the back of the car. I was looking out the window, and I was thinking, well, I'm already going. There's no going back now. I got to make the most of it. So I came here my 8th grade year. I haven't looked back, and it's definitely been the right choice for me. And just put yourself out there. That's all you really need to do. Make friends, make the most of it, and that's what I did.
And Pickett, of course, you're from California. I'm hoping you guys flew because that would be a heck of a drive. But a little different spin on the question. You know, when you first saw the campus for the first time, did you visit before you enrolled, or did you just show up?
Yeah, so my first day at Camden was a little bit different. I actually came in the middle of the year rather than the beginning of the year. So I actually went on a tour with Major Trap on a Friday. And then after that, I really loved the school. I thought it was really pretty. I thought it was a good idea. My mom finally convinced me to go. So I think it was Saturday or Sunday. We went to Columbia. I bought all the stuff I needed, and I was actually there on Monday. So I got in very quick. And at first, I was a little nervous joining in the middle of the year because I'd figured, everyone already knows each other because they've been there a full semester. But I was very surprised and thankful that everyone was super friendly and accepting, just helpful with everything. Even if it was something simple as like, I don't know how to make my bed the right way or I don't know how to wear this uniform properly, I felt pretty comfortable asking anybody and they would help me.
Awesome. Now, pretty much the guys I've talked to been doing this a long time, guys, and most of the young men I've interviewed say they're a little scared of Camden. They're scared of change. They're scared of the word military school. Um, how do you get over that initial fear of the unknown? Maybe any tips you can give any prospective students out there about how to get over that fear of the unknown? And we'll just start the cycle back over with Duke.
I would definitely say for a little nervousness, a little fear, you just got to get into it. I mean, for me, I would definitely say get involved with sports, get involved with clubs, and just meet people. Because I don't know, the first 2 weeks, everybody's going through the same thing. You're all going through the trenches together, and that's the only way you're going to get out of it is with your buddies, making friends. Uh, and you gotta do that together. And so the day you get there, say hi to people, be nice, just treat people how you want to be treated, and honestly, life comes together pretty well.
Yeah. And Pickett, how about you? What's something maybe that you weren't necessarily looking forward to that was a little bit scary? I mean, it's a long way across country for you. How did you overcome any of those fear of the unknowns?
Well, I think at first the whole idea of a military school is, very terrifying because obviously if you've never gone to military school, uh, a very big reputation is always just for bad kids and stuff. So in my mind, I kind of was thinking like, oh, there's going to be barbed wire everywhere and, it's like a prison. But in reality, it wasn't like that at all. Um, I liked it a lot and I fit in very well. My first day, I was pretty nervous because the first person you meet is usually your TAC officer. And they're kind of like the father role in your life when you're at Camden. And so they're pretty intimidating at first, but I got to know them very well and we became very close.
Yeah. And then for more, kind of the same question with a little spin. Um, the fear factor. What was one particular thing at Camden that really, before you got here, really scared you? Like, what were you saying? Oh God, don't know if I can do that or not.
Okay, well, to start, I did tour the campus, but I forgot that what the barracks look like, I guess. So when in my head when I was getting there, I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm in basic training and it's all open and you have no personal space and you're not in a room. It's like just bunk beds lined everywhere." But that wasn't true. I did have a room. And the second thing was, who's my roommate going to be? I saw on the door it said Sergeant Lynn. I was terrified of Sergeant as my roommate. And he ended up not showing up for a couple of days, which made it even more scary. But once he got there, it was perfectly fine. He was just like me. I mean, it was nothing crazy.
All right, all right. Okay, great. We've got some questions coming in. So, Mac, I'm going to ask you this first question. So prepare yourself there. Um, what's the closest airport to CMA?
Good question. And this is, I think, been applied to all of these guys on here. We actually have two airports that we provide transportation to. That's Charlotte, North Carolina, and then Columbia, South Carolina. So kind of a personal preference in which one you can fly into. Sometimes you may get some, cheaper flights to certain airports and things like that. But we're about an hour and a half south of Charlotte, so not a long drive at all. And then we're only about 40 minutes away from Columbia. So I would say that all of our out-of-state students, international students, utilize those airports because if he flies in, we can go up there and get him. Also, if he's flying out, we can take him up to the airport, make sure he gets on the right flight, and get him home to you.
All right. And the next question coming in regarding financial aid, how quickly can you receive financial aid? Well, some good news on that front. We actually were out of financial aid, but the deadline to pay tuition was July 20th, and not everyone paid their tuition on time. So we did have a little financial aid returned to the the pool, and so that means that you can still apply. Right now, we're looking at probably about 3 to 4 days, 5 days max, to get a decision back on financial aid. So, if you're interested in that, just let us know, and we can certainly help you. Just keep in mind, if you are going to apply for financial aid, your son must be accepted into Camden before you can apply. So you can't apply for the aid without him already being accepted here at CMA. All right, next question. What are the sports available for fall 24, winter 25, and spring 25? Guys, we're going to split it up among you three. So, Duke, talk to me about fall. What kind of sports do guys get involved in? Oh, you're muted, bud.
We have football and cross country. Also have tennis that starts practice. A lot of sports start practice in the fall as well, where they have workouts and different, like once a week or twice a week, we go out and start practice as a team. But football and cross country are big ones.
Yeah, football is definitely the big one. This is the South. I always say that football is still a religion down here. And then we'll move to the winter sports. More, why don't you tell us what our guys do in the winter?
Well, for winter, I believe we have basketball and wrestling, and maybe a marksmanship team coming in the future. I'm not too sure about that, though.
Right. So, yeah, we do have drill and marksmanship that are considered sports for us as well. And but yes, they can actually letter in those. And then picket, you got the hard one because this is spring and we get really busy in the spring. So try to go through as many as you can.
So the spring, it does get pretty busy with the sports. We have a lot of sports at CMA. Matter of fact, we have a lot of dedicated athletes. Even in the winter, you'll see people that are going to play spring sports that are already out there practicing, with their teammates, trying to improve their skills. So I see a lot of baseball and soccer. Tennis starts back up. We have golf. I feel like there's one more, but I'm missing it. I can't think of it. Lacrosse, that's what it is.
So we have lots of sports. 13 overall that you can get involved in varsity sports. We have JV, varsity, and also some middle school sports. So enough to keep these guys busy. We like to keep them busy because it keeps them out of trouble. All right, next question we have. Are there children that may not necessarily want to go? And how have those young men adapted? That's a good question. So, Matt, why don't you talk about it? How many of our these students, even, how many of our total core usually want to go to Camden Military?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I'm going to pick on Pickett a little bit because, I actually saw him from the start. So I saw him when he came on his tour and kind of how he's become the young man he is today, which I'm really proud of him. A lot of times a teenage boy, it's not his idea to attend a military school. Usually it's mom and dad making the decision, kind of driving the boat a little bit. But really once they get here, especially if they see it in person, and the reason I said I was going to pick on Pickett a little bit is, when he was on the tour with me, he wasn't overly talkative. He'd ask some questions and things like that. But once he got here and kind of got acclimated to everything and really kind of saw the campus and saw that it wasn't a boot camp, it wasn't a prison, that changes the dynamic. And most of the time, that's why we encourage families to come to our campus, because usually when what they think it is or what they think it's going to be, it's nothing like what it turns out to be. So, really, if your son is a prospective cadet and he's got those hesitations, we'd love to talk to you one-on-one, set you up with a Zoom with one of a current cadet to talk to him, and then tour campus. Come to one of our open house events. Come see what we're all about, because again, usually the hesitation is just the fear of the unknown. So once they know what they're getting into, it makes it a whole lot better. So, and again, that Pickett's just a prime example of that. He's doing great, really acclimated to it, and you'd have never thought that from the first time I met him. So that would be my advice. Come to our campus, and just that hesitation, again, usually it's just the unknown.
And as far as guys adapting, let's go back, throw that one to you guys. How quickly did you adapt to the CMA ways?
Well, I came here my 8th grade year, and to be honest, I'd say fairly quickly, because in the first 2 weeks, everybody has their phone taken away. And that's just not new kids. It's everybody. If you're a 12th grader or 7th grader, it doesn't matter. Your phone's going to be gone for those first 2 weeks. So you can kind of build a brotherhood, make friends, go out and do stuff instead of just sitting in your room and playing video games or whatever it may be. And then we also have Spartan Challenge, which is pretty much like a massive, awesome field day where everybody gets together with their teams, their company, and they do competitive challenges. And, that definitely builds good relationships there as well.
All right, good stuff. All right, and now let's move on to next question here. This one calls for the glasses. It's a pretty long one. Identifying personal belongings like their clothes, sheets, etc. Do you only put the laundry number or do you include the name? Guys, you remember marking those laundry? Hey, Duke, we're going to throw that one to you. How do you mark that laundry up?
So I would definitely say for personal belongings, just in my opinion, I would just put 70 or put your by straight from my mind. But I would definitely just put the number because when you put the name, the majority of the time, I've seen it rubbed off or it just makes a black mark. So I would just put the numbers as clear and as you can, and also just be ready. It's a bunch of boys living together. We share like you'll ask any of us what clothes you need more of. You'll ask black socks, whatever the letter says, double it and add two more. So I would just put just about everything, unless it's a really nice item. I put your number and last name, but just about everything, just put your number.
Yeah. And two, for the parents who are watching, you don't have to call us up and say my cadet is number 293 or 894 because I won't know who you're talking about. All right. So we do go by name. So that laundry number that they receive is strictly for laundry. So he's going to be Cadet Pickett, Cadet Duke, Cadet Moore while he's here. All right, let's see here. Mac, this one we'll throw to you. What does the week of August 11th football drop-off look like? So kind of go through that registration date for us on football Sunday.
Yeah, so football Sunday, many of our students that are coming and joining us for football camp, which I encourage you if your son is an athlete, especially football, if he wants to come for that, it's a great way to get acclimated. That Sunday is going to work very much so just like the registration day later on that week. We'll get him checked in, take his photo, get his student ID, make sure we have all of our forms completed, and get him moved into his room. So, he'll go through the entire registration process that Sunday. Once he's here, I can tell you that week is going to be very busy for him. He's going to have practices. He's going to get to know his teammates, get to know the coaches, a lot of team building skills. So, we really, each year, as far as our athletic teams go, we don't really know who we're getting. We do have some returning cadets, but we have a lot of new cadets. So that just gives them some extra time to really build that bond between them, lets coaches figure out positions and what players are going to be doing. And then the good thing is I always tell the guys that, they're here a week earlier. So they've got a week under their belt. They've kind of found their way around school and they're kind of a week ahead of everybody else. But that day for registration on the 11th, plan to be on campus for, an hour, 2 hours, things like that, just making sure you're going through the stations and getting them moved in. You'll get to know the TAC officer and things like that day too.
And I will, just a quick reminder for football, that's just the high school football players, not middle school. So that's grades 9 through 12. And another tip for anyone coming in for football camp, start hydrating now. It's hot here. The heat index tomorrow is back around 110 for us. So, you guys are going to be sweating and we don't make them practice when it's 110. There's certain ranges that, we call practice off or move it indoors. But yeah, this is a hot place if you're not from the area. So be prepared to sweat a lot, guys. All right. Let's see here. Clubs. What clubs are available? My son was there during summer. He enjoyed the chess club, but what other clubs are there? So can you talk a little bit about other clubs here on campus?
Absolutely. We have National Honor Society, STEM Club, Library Club, Boy Scouts, Civil Air Patrol, and maybe some other clubs that you could start yourself if you wanted to come. It's not that hard. All you have to do is go talk to a teacher or whatever it may be. And, they have nothing. They might want to start a new club as well. So you talk to them, have a buddy do it with you. You can make your own club as well.
Yeah. So if you do have an interest in something that we don't offer currently, just let us know. But we do have all of our clubs listed on our website. Just if you go to camdenmilitary.com, check it out. There's a whole club section that kind of talks about everything that we do offer currently. All right. Next question here. What procedures do you have in place for monitoring any inappropriate behaviors that the students and or staff have towards the kids? So Mac, I will throw that one to you first, and then we'll let the guys answer as well.
Yeah. So we don't, one of the things that we get a lot, kind of the preconceived notions and stigmas around a military school, the bullying, the hazing, things like that. We don't tolerate any of that. So we don't tolerate, there's no tradition of hazing, and we don't tolerate bullying. If your son's having another student who is affecting his environment and his learning and living environment at CMA, we're not going to tolerate that. So one thing I can tell you is we do create a very safe environment for your son with his peers and with faculty, and I always tell parents, I know this sounds biased, saying this, but we've got really good faculty members. We've got faculty, coaches, teachers, TAC officers. CMA faculty's the best, and, they're going to go out of their way to make sure your son is safe, and he's also in an environment he can thrive in. And, again, I think that the guys that have been here, I think that they'd say the same thing. So.
And two, just to kind of add on to that, we do have security cameras everywhere. We don't have it in the boys' rooms. We want to have some privacy, but, we certainly do not have surveillance of them, but we have monitoring of them. So the hallways have cameras, all the buildings, everything. So there's not a whole lot that can go on that we will miss. And then also you have an adult pretty much within earshot all the time. We have an adult that actually comes in to stay awake on the hallways in the evenings or at night from 10 o'clock until 6 a.m. the next morning. And then you have the TAC officers in the barracks throughout the day, and teachers and other staff and administration around. So, but I will throw it to the guys on that one. Guys, how do you kind of make sure, how do you feel like Camden makes sure that guys aren't messing with other guys or staff for that matter? Duke, we'll throw that one to you first.
I would definitely say we've got a very much see something, say something mentality at school. You see something, you're like, that's not right. That's certainly not how it's supposed to work. Guys are pretty good about telling their TAC officers, we have such small, my biggest classes here had 9 people. My smallest had 3. So I feel like I had a pretty close relationship with a lot of faculty and teachers, and kind of makes a good, feeling of trust where I know I can go tell them things. I'm like, hey, this is not what I like to see. It's not right. And they're pretty good about acting on it. So I definitely say there's a net trust.
Awesome. All right. So I have another comment. Oh, we have a shout out from Facebook. Let's see. Christina M. This place was great for my son. So, hey, Christina, thanks for sharing that. I'd like to hear all that good stuff. So make sure you leave us a Google review, and anywhere else you can write a review. All right, let's see. What are the rankings like at CMA? So, Pickett, why don't you tell them a little bit about ranking? Where will you start, and how do you climb, and how high can you go?
So when you first get to CMA, you'll start out as an enlisted private. So you won't have that many responsibilities. You work in the squad to do your chores, essentially, which we call fallouts in the barracks. So we have to do those chores 2 times a day. You'll have someone over you called a squad leader, and they basically are in charge of you. And then it goes up the ranking system, but basically just good behavior, doing what you're supposed to be doing when you're supposed to do it. You'll get more rank and more responsibility, and you'll be leading more people underneath you.
No. All right. And then a question coming in. How do we apply for the financial aid link? If you have to email me, so just send me an email once we go off tonight, and I will get you the information you need for the financial aid. If you go to the actual financial aid site right now, it's actually closed. So we're going to kind of have to use a backdoor, but I'll share that with you through email. So my email is easy to remember. It's at admissions@camdenmilitary.com. There's going to be an end card at the end of the show, and it'll have the email, how to reach me on there. All right, let's see. Can someone talk about the first month of school at CMA? What's it like? More, I think you touched on it earlier, but Pickett, if you will, just kind of tell us, what are you getting used to? What are you getting introduced to that first month?
In my opinion, I think the first month is the most fun. because it makes you kind of engage with other people more. Like, for example, as Moore was saying earlier, you get your phone taken for 2 weeks. So usually, like when we have free time, instead of just staring at the wall, you're like, okay, I'm gonna go outside, just walk around, take a walk. But then there's always people outside playing football or playing catch or playing soccer or swimming. So there's always something to do. So I thought that was really nice. And then also, I'd encourage you to get in clubs as soon as you can, because it gives you an opportunity to meet a lot of other people and get close with them, as well as get off campus. I think the Spartan Challenge is really fun too. So I think the first one's the most fun in my opinion.
All right. And guys, just a reminder to our viewers, keep the questions coming in. You can post right here in the chat, or you can use any of our social media platforms. Just make sure that you use the hashtag Camden Military. Another question coming in, though, is what would be the consequences, for example, untidy rooms, beds not made, etc.? Good question. So more, what happens with that?
Well, start if your room was to not be cleaned and squared away, which I guess would be you not vacuuming or taking out the trash or making your bed. You get an unset, which is unsatisfactory, and that's not good. It can lead to you getting demerits, which basically demerits and merits are how you're able to go on furloughs. After a certain amount of merits you can get for doing the right thing, getting good grades, having your room being clean. It allows you to go on trips and leave on the weekend. But if you were to have an untidy room for multiple days in a row, that might lead to PAD, which stands for punishment and discipline. And it's out on our big parade field in front of the chapel, right out front of the school. And you'll be walking back and forth during your free time. But it's pretty hard to get on the PAD. That's only if you're, constantly not cleaning your room. If your room's not made one time, okay, you'll get a pass. And tardiness, being late to class, there's really no reason for you to be late at all. I mean, we have 10 minutes to be out of the barracks, right? 10 minutes before class starts, you need to be out of your room going to class. So, and classes are not that far from your room. So there's no reason to be late.
Yeah. All right. Good stuff. And going to ask you guys a question here. The separation anxiety from your parents, what was it like? Was it worse for you, or was it worse for mom and dad? And Duke, how about you answer that one?
It was 100% worse for my parents. I've always been like very independent. I'm the oldest child, and I remember the first day my mom was crying from when they had to leave me on the front steps, and like that was the last time I remember her ever like dropped me off at school, because she always got really emotional about it. But for me, I really never had an issue. Like I've always enjoyed doing my own thing, live my own life, and that's kind of what we look for with Camden. That's kind of how I got to it. So some people I know had a little bit of like separation anxiety, but the first 2 weeks where they take phones, take electronics, and you just, like I said, you're going through it together with your buddies, and you all kind of go through it together. And nobody notices until they get their phone back. So they go, oh dang, I'm not home, and you're like, man, I'm missing so much. And you look at your phone, and life goes on, and you figure out who really cares about you and who, like, what really matters back home, I guess.
Yeah, good stuff. And Moore, how about you? Who do you think had more separation anxiety, you or mom?
Well, the first night it was a little sad for me. But definitely my parents. I kind of got through it. I made friends. Of course, I didn't have my phones. I was just living my life, having fun. And my mom, she was going through it. She thought I was gone forever. But it ended up being fine. Like, to be honest, homesickness only lasts a very short amount of time, because you're going to make friends very quickly there. Because everybody's going through the same thing as you.
Yeah, and as I've said, this will be my 26th year, my 26th registration of starting school here at CMA, and I can tell you that in all 26 years, it's much tougher on moms and dads than it is the boys. The boys, we keep them busy, we keep them, plugged in to the school, not to their cell phones, and we don't want them to see all the stuff happening at home if school hasn't started back yet, or if their friends are going to the Friday night football games. And for a lot of students, it's a detox as well. So many are addicted to the cell phone, so that 2 weeks gives them a chance that you can actually breathe without having the cell phone in your hand 24/7. But moms and dads, prepare yourself, because it will be a little difficult, and it may be even more difficult because he's not going to be that upset. So prepare yourself for that as well. I know I'm going to ask a question about, furloughs and leaves and things coming up here in a moment, but sometimes students don't want to go home on those furloughs and leaves. They want to stay here because we're going to a NFL game or NBA game or whitewater rafting or something fun. And so you might get your feelings hurt a little bit, but think about it from his perspective. That's actually a good thing because that means he's enjoying it. He wants to be here. So, and also on registration day, this happens pretty much every year. Maybe we might have 1 or 2 years, but it hasn't happened. Parents will call me afterwards and say, Mr. Robinson, everything went well at registration, except that TAC officer just kind of pushed me out of the barracks. I went in, I wanted to spend time with my son, and he just kind of said, okay, ma'am, it's time to go now. Well, he's not trying to be rude, I promise. That's our way to kind of cut the umbilical cord quick. The longer you're there, the more hugs you come back for, the more tears are going to flow on both sides. So, just know that attack officers are not trying to be rude. They're not trying to push you off campus, but we do encourage parents to kind of make it as short and sweet a goodbye as possible. So keep that in mind on registration day. And Matt, how about you? Again, talk about the electronics policy. We talked about the 2 weeks at the beginning of the school year, but what happens after that 2 weeks? And talk about the electronics policy and also the visitation policy.
Yeah, and I also saw a comment earlier that came in about the football camp again, as far as them not having their phone for 2 weeks, and then is it an additional third week? So during football camp, we actually let them keep their phones, so they won't start their 2-week certification period until everybody starts that. So during the football camp, they can touch base with you guys and have their phones. But once everybody finishes certification, which is 2 weeks that they don't have any electronics, and kind of piggybacking on what some of the guys were saying earlier, it is so refreshing as being a faculty member there for a student to come up to you and go, sir, it's actually great not to have to answer 100 texts a day or worry about what everybody else is doing. I'm kind of just enjoying my time. And I'm like, well, guys, yeah, that's life. That's life outside of the sphere of social media. So usually that decompression time gets them away from that, really gets building the bonds between the guys they're going to be living with. And so that's a good time. And then after that, we do give their technology back to them. So we allow technology. We want them to prove to us that they can handle technology and having those privileges on campus. We're fair. So if they can handle it and they're on it when they're supposed to be on it, off of it when they're supposed to be off of it, they'll have it all year long. They can enjoy it. Use that as a time to just have to themselves on the weekends. But if they can't handle that and they can't abide by our rules, one thing I think I picked this up from Casey. He's been doing it longer than I have. But, we tell parents that we like them, you love them. So if we take their phone from them, we're going to take it for 2 weeks. They're not going to be able to sweet talk us to getting it back. And then if it becomes consistent, we're going to take it from them. And then we're just going to ship that technology back home to you to hold on to for the rest of the year, because we don't want them relying on that technology and having to have it all the time. We want them to, a couple hours a day, do what they need to do on it, and then be able to actually sit it down and go out and do other things. So.
And Mac, if you will, when can parents visit? When's the first time that they can lay eyes on their son after the initial registration day?
Yeah, so 3 weeks. 3 weeks before you can visit him. So 2 weeks cut off from them as far as phone calls and things like that. You can always call the TAC officer to check up on them. If you want to call, hey, First Sergeant Hester, how is Moore doing or how's Pickett doing? They'll let you know. Just bear with them. They do have a lot of students they're trying to keep up with, so it may take them a little while to get back in touch with you. But after 3 weeks, you can come visit him on campus. We have a pretty open policy. If you're passing through and you want to stop in and see him, that's fine. The academic day, study hall at night, those aren't the greatest of times, but anytime in the afternoon, if you want to stop in, see him practicing a sport, just say hey to him, things like that, you can. We do want him to get the full boarding school environment, so we definitely don't want you there, doing his laundry and being there all the time. But checking in on them and just touching base with them, we're perfectly fine with that. And then we, of course, have times that he can go home too, furlough weekends, and off-campus time, special leave sometimes on Saturdays and Sundays. So there is time to visit with him and see him.
Great. And then I see Ms. Harris asked a question. The first 2 weeks, can we call the TAC officers to get updates? Absolutely. Yeah, the TAC officers will be a parent's primary point of contact. So that's who you will always go to. And yes, I mean, first of all, the TACs are going to call you when you drop your son off. He's going to call you within the first 72 hours and give you an update. So he's going to say, hey, he's doing great. He's fitting in, or he's crying himself to sleep every night. And we're trying to help him get there. But you can always call that TAC and check in. I don't want parents to sit at home and worry about their kids. So if you have a concern, we have a concern. So go ahead and call that TAC officer. We're not going to call him a mama's boy or anything like that, but we want to hear from you if you are uncomfortable. All right, let's see. What's an average day like at CMA? All right, so we're going to split this up here. Let's see, Duke, why don't you tell them about from wake up until lunch, and then Pickett will do you from lunch until study hall, and then we'll throw it to Moore to close the night.
So in the morning, we wake up at 6. So Reveille plays at 6 every morning. And you get up, you have 30 minutes to make your bed, get your uniform on, do anything else you need to do. And then from 6:30 to 7, we have fallout times. So you're just doing your chores as your squad. It's kind of your basics, hallways, bathrooms, outside. Just keep yourself accountable. And then we go to 7 to about 7:45. And then we have drill from 8 to 9. And you get into uniform of your day if you had a differing uniform. And you'll have class from 9:30 to 11:50, like depends on the day, 11:45, 12 o'clock. And then from 12 to 12:45, we have lunch. So depends. And then on the weekend, it's a little more lax, but you'll have church in the mornings on Sundays. And you don't have to wake up nearly as early. So you'll wake up either 9 or 10, depending if it's Saturday or Sunday. And then you'll have church, and you'll go to lunch, and then the rest of the day is up to Pickett.
Okay, Pickett, if you'll take us through till study hall.
So after lunch, you'll have probably 15 or 20 minutes to go back to the barracks, get your books ready. I usually always get my books ready right before lunch, so when I come back, I can sit and text my friends or something for a little bit, and then head back to class. Then you'll go to your last 3 classes of the day, and after your last 3 classes, you'll go into free time. So if you're not on pad, you haven't done anything wrong, free time's entirely up to what you want to do. If I'm not playing a sport, I usually go to the Carla house and get a snack or play some pool or ping pong with some of my friends. Then I'll go home or go back to the barracks, chill in my room for a little bit. After free time, we'll go to dinner. And after dinner, you'll have probably 30 minutes to get ready for study hall, get your agenda ready, get your area ready, make sure it's clean. And you'll go to study hall. After study hall, you get a little bit more free time. You can take a shower or hang out with your friends for a little bit. But at 9:30, we have to be back in our rooms. Lights are turned off. You're just getting ready for bed. And at 10, you have to go to sleep.
All right. Way to go, Pickett. Moore, he stole your thunder there, didn't he? He went ahead and took the evening. I think it's because it's such a routine. It's just in his head, and he's going to go ahead and spit it out. All right. But Moore, I will throw this question to you. Are the bathrooms private, or do they have stalls? And so if you will, talk about the bathroom situation more.
Well, it's not going to be like a Jack and Jill bathroom at college dorm, but the barracks, when you walk in the front door, they're split on the left and the right, and each platoon will have their own bathroom area. There's about 5 sinks, 6 or 7 stalls, depending on what barrack you're in, and 2 urinals, and your showers are in there as well. The stalls are, of course, private. You can do your thing in there. When you go there in the morning, you're pretty much only in the bathroom to shave, brush your teeth, shower. I mean, it's pretty much it. It's basic. You will have your privacy, and of course, you have your own room.
All right, yeah. And let's see. Oops, gotta get the glasses for this one again. It's a long one. How do the boys get awake in the morning, and how do they spend the weekends, and what medical services are available? So as far as medical services, we have nurses on staff, and they take care of dispensing any and all medications. But also we have a contract with a local pediatrician in town if someone needs some medical attention. And then, of course, the emergency room is about 5 minutes away if we ever get into an emergency situation. Athletic trainer for all of the sports. So pretty well covered when it comes to the medical side of things. But guys, how do you wake up in the morning? What wakes you up in the morning? And then what do you do on the weekends? And Duke, we'll go back to you on that one.
So as I said, Reveille wakes you up at 6 every day. So it plays da 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 da. Da. I mean, I can tell it to you, I swear. But it wakes you up in the morning, and then on the weekends, it all depends. So we have a lot of times we'll have trips on the weekends. So we'll have like whitewater rafting. We'll have Disney or Florida trip, ski trips, random like. A lot of times you'll have a random like where they're like, hey, we're going into town. Does anybody want to go volunteer? A lot of different events you can kind of sign up for the year. And then also we almost always will see us playing football or something, especially in the afternoons whenever it cools down. Me and Moore spent playing football out in the football field. So it all kind of depends. We play a lot of volleyball. Some of the guys play soccer on the soccer field. It all really just depends, especially on those bad luck times we'll go inside the Carlisle house. So I don't think we really talked about that, but that's where you can get snacks, drinks, STVs, Wi-Fi. It's kind of a cadet hangout spot, especially whenever there's nasty and not really nice. A lot of guys will go in there.
Yeah. There's also a question here about what do guys do if they don't go home on a furlough on a weekend, like the fall furloughs and things like that. So we will have two types of breaks. We have the Christmas break. We have fall furlough, presidential furlough. And those furloughs are optional, so they can stay back here on campus during those optional breaks. When those breaks kick in, typically we're going to the movies, we're going paintballing, we're doing some type of sporting event, something like that. So they're not missing anything really. The larger trips that parents can choose and pay for throughout the year, the whitewater rafting, the snow skiing, the Florida trips, those are not on furlough weekend. So we try not to make you make the decision, do I want to go see mom or do I want to go on this trip? So usually it's either a long weekend or maybe, but it's not, it might, but a furlough or a break, but it's not going to be over those times. All right. And then do the boys require any money while they're here on campus? We used to allow students to have cash, but now we've moved to a cashless system. And Pickett, why don't you tell them how that works over in the Carlisle house?
Yeah, so we're not allowed to have any money on campus. Instead, when you first go to check in, when you first get to school, they'll take your picture. You'll get an ID card. So that ID card is essentially how you get everything. You can go to the Carlisle house and they scan the back of it. There's a little bar they scan, and it goes to your account. You can pick out whatever you want from the Carlisle house to get to snack on. It'll automatically go to your account. And I believe the accounts, they're like prepaid, so it'll just deduct.
Yep, that's right. So you get $30 per week. Each cadet will get $30 per week, and then that money is just deducted from that account. Very few guys end up using all the $30, but anyway, you can go in there and spend it. Carlisle House is the only place on campus that you're going to be spending any money. All right. Is it tougher for students to enroll beginning in the second semester? Pickett, I'm coming back to you because you did start middle of the semester. You touched on it earlier, but do you think it's harder to start second semester, or is no big deal?
So I've started at both the first semester and the second semester. Honestly, I don't think it really makes a difference. I think both of them, they're pretty easy to adapt to. Like I said earlier, everyone was really friendly. It wasn't hard to adapt at all. Everyone's really there to help you.
Yeah, I think personally, and I haven't experienced it like these guys, but I think maybe at first semester you're coming in with a big group of new guys, so you can blend in, that kind of thing. Second semester is going to be a little more individualized because there's not as many coming in at one time. So there's pros and cons depending on your personality type, I guess. But I don't think it's any more difficult because, again, we take students all throughout the year. So we may have students start in September and come in, and I've never had one come back and say, "Oh gosh, I wish I'd have started at the beginning," or "I wish I'd have waited until January." So these guys, like they mentioned earlier, they're pretty good about bringing the guys into the brotherhood, adopting them in pretty quickly, and making them feel like home. Because remember, all these boys have been there too. They all had their first days, whether it was beginning of second semester or that first day. Question: should the boys bring extra clothes not on the provided list to wear under their sports equipment? So, Trap, we will throw that one over to you.
Yeah, so we do ask parents just the packing list that we do provide for you. Stick to that as best as possible. Just because the rooms they are a little bit smaller, we don't like a whole lot of extra stuff. They're going to be in their uniforms most of the time. Also, with their uniforms, we do provide summer PTs and winter PTs that they can wear. A lot of guys will wear those when they go out to sports practices and things like that. So if he does want to bring a few extra items, maybe if he's a heavy sweater or something like that, and you think he needs maybe an extra shirt or something like that, that's fine. But again, the packing list that we provide, it's going to cover everything that he needs. So as long as you send those things, you're going to be fine. And I know Duke mentioned this earlier, just some things you learn while you're here, maybe, bringing an extra pair of socks or something like that. You may need that, but really if you stick to that packing list, that's going to provide him everything he needs for the school year.
Good. All right. And then let's see here. I thought they read somewhere that they meet certain criteria in order to have a furlough weekend. In that case, can we also plan on seeing him? Okay. So as far as furlough weekends go, those are earned weekends. So the only guaranteed furloughs would be the fall furlough and the presidential furlough. So one in, I think it's end of September, early October, and one in February. Everybody can go on those, even if you don't have any merits. The other furloughs is going to be accumulation of your merits, and merits are points that you get for doing the right thing and being good standing academically, behaviorally, militarily, all that. So for example, if we were giving out merits tonight for proper haircut, none of these three guys would get any merits because they all have hair that's too long. So I didn't hardly recognize a few of them when they signed on tonight. When they're here though, they will have a barber here on campus that takes care of the hair. So hopefully they'll get that haircut before they get back on campus, or we may see the commandant's head explode. All right, let's see. Did I get to all these questions? We talked about financial aid, several trips. We talked about the trips. Yeah, I think we pretty much have knocked those out. Guys, I want to ask you, what's a piece of advice or a tip that you may give a student that's getting ready to start or one who's thinking about coming? And Duke, we'll start off with you.
So I'll have two. I'll have a figurative and a literal. The literal, I would definitely say, is if there's anything you really, really like, it's really valuable to you, don't bring it. We have small rooms, and I felt like I could keep track of everything, but things really like you just always move around. You're moving rooms sometimes, and don't. If it's really valuable to you, leave it home and take a picture. And then kind of figurative advice, just come to it with an open mind. Like there's a lot of guys where we call like swimming upriver, and you can try and swim upriver as best you can, but the river's going to win. So just go with the river, go with the flow, and honestly, really good things do happen. So.
Stuff. And more, what's a tip that you would offer an incoming student?
I would say get involved. Don't just sit in your room. Don't just sit on your phone, play video games or whatever. Go outside, have fun, go do flag football, go to intramurals if you don't play a sport. Go look at the stars at like 9:30, 10. I mean, you're able to do that. Just have fun, make the most of it. You're here. You don't want to be insufferable. Just have fun.
And Pickett, how about you? What's the tip?
Similar to what Duke was saying, I really think it's just what you make of it. So I'd recommend coming in with an open mindset, respect everybody, and just try to meet a lot of friends, get involved. The more you're involved, the better your experience is going to be. So that's what I'd recommend.
And Mac, I'm going to ask you that too. What's the tip that you give prospective parents and students when they're trying to make a decision?
Yeah, same thing. Just everything. I had a family I was talking to not too long ago, and again, the boy was nervous, and I just told him, I said, you've got a great attitude when you're talking to me. You seem like you have an open mind. You want to get involved in sports. You want to join this club. One of the things that we do, we had last year, Duke and Pickett's going to be doing it with me this year, but we started a scuba diving club. And so, he showed some interest in maybe wanting to get scuba certified. And, there's things here at Camden Military Academy that you're probably not going to have the opportunity to do anywhere else. Get scuba certified, take flight lessons, try a new sport. We have a no cut policy with our sport. So just get involved, go out there, try new things. make new friends. I don't know, embarrass yourself, just kind of learn that it's life, and life goes on, and everything here is what you make of it. And I think that if you really kind of dive headfirst into it, you're going to be very successful. I'm very proud of all these guys that we have on here now. Duke, he's going to Vanderbilt. He's about to start his life outside of Camden military. Moore's coming in as a senior with great ambitions. And so, again, just get involved and make the best of it, because you really can take advantage of things here that aren't going to be available to you probably in the situation you're at now.
Good. Yeah, and just kind of to piggyback on these guys, I've told students for years, it's all what you make of it, but just give us a little bit. You don't have to be excited to come to military school. We understand that, but you do need to be willing to give it a shot. Just give us like 15-20%, and I think you'll be okay with the rest of it. All right, guys, this can be our last question. Oops, actually, we have a couple more coming in here on the chat. Let me get to these. Can my son bring his Xbox, or do you recommend he leave that at home? Talk to your TAC officer. You should be getting phone calls from the TAC officers here. And when you talk to the TAC officer, just ask him, hey, do you recommend the Xbox or not? We have 5 different buildings. We have 2 TAC officers in each building with the students. Each barrack gets to kind of run their company their way. So some TAC officers will tell you absolutely no electronics at all, Xbox included, for the first 2 weeks. Others may say, yeah, he can bring it, but he's not able to play online. So that's actually a TAC officer question. So go ahead and reach out to them if you don't hear from them before registration. Another one here, is there someone to encourage the boys to get involved and not allow them to hide away on their phone? Yeah, so that's pretty much, again, the TAC officer's duties. He's going to be there. Again, that's a conversation to have with that TAC officer. So if you have any concerns about your son, maybe trying to be on the phone a little too much, or playing the Xbox too much, or just taking a nap too much, let the TAC officers know, hey, I want him involved in football, or hey, I want him going to scout meetings or whatever. And those TACs are pretty good about offering a little extra encouragement. So always stay in contact. Keep that line of communication open with us here at the school, and it'll improve the whole experience, I promise. Last question, guys. If you could go back and do CMA again, do this whole experience from looking for schools to choosing Camden to attending Camden to you've been here 1, 2, you're graduated, whatever. Is there anything that you would do differently? Think about that for a sec. Is there anything that you would do differently in the whole process, from looking for the school to attending the school to even graduating? And Duke, we'll start with you.
I really don't know what I'd do different, honestly. Like, thinking back to it, like, maybe just talking to some more guys, talking to more people. But I don't know, I feel like knew everybody. I feel like I was pretty good friends with everybody. There's not a whole lot of change. I feel like it's a bad answer to give you, but it's a good answer to have.
Yeah, good. And more, we'll ask you the same thing. Is there anything that you may have done differently your first few years here?
To be honest, I kind of enjoyed the path I went down at Camden from my 8th grade year to my senior year. I've enjoyed everybody I've talked to, met, and everything I've done. Maybe the only thing I would have gone back on is playing more sports. But other than that, no. Like, I think I did the right thing.
Okay. And Kason, we'll wrap up with you.
I think the only thing I would have done different is come to Camden quicker, as funny as it sounds. But also, when I first came to Camden, I think I would have been I wish I would have been more open-minded and just gotten involved a little more. It took me a little bit to get involved with everyone, and once I did, it was great. So if you are coming to Camden, that's my #1 recommendation. Just get involved as quick as you can and meet as much people as you can. It'll make your experience a lot better.
Well, Pickett, in all fairness, you're from California, so it was probably a bit of a culture shock for you initially as well, right? Just kidding. You had to get used to the accents anyway. All right. Guys, we're going to end our YouTube live tonight. I want to thank all of the viewers for all the questions. It was really good to have that open line of communication there with you guys, asking questions. And hopefully you got the answers you were looking for. If you still have any questions out there, please just send an email or reach out to us tomorrow. We'll be in the office. And Parents, if you've already enrolled, just take a deep breath. Don't be too nervous. Mac and I are here to kind of hold your hand through the registration process. So if you start to get a little butterfly or whatever, give us a call. We'll talk you down. And just remember, this, one of the kids said it best earlier. This is an investment in your son's future, and been doing this a long time, and those investments pay off huge dividends. I've seen it happen time and time again, which is why I've been here so long. So anyway, thank you for watching tonight, and hopefully we'll see you here on campus. Oh, do want to remind you though, we have an on-campus open house coming up August 10th. So if you need to come visit on a weekend, that's the day to do it, August 10th at 9 a.m. Or you can also come anytime during the week. Just give us a call and we'll make that appointment for you. All right, thanks for joining us, guys. I appreciate all y'all giving me your time tonight. Duke, you're an alum and even come back to us, so we really appreciate that. And everyone have a good evening.